So when I found out I had cancer, when I got the diagnosis, I went, and I thought, this is when I die. And I thought, here we go. And I looked at, and I had, 2 and a 4-year-old and Martin, who's wonderful. And I thought, no, I can't do that. And I just remember that moment of going, no, can't do it.
Hi, and welcome to your Access All Areas podcast, where we talk candidly to Australia's finest performing artists about their lives and the lessons they have learned along the way. So welcome to McLaren Versus. I am sitting here, everybody, opposite one of the most beautiful humans I have the honour of knowing.
Oh, darling.
What a wonderful start.
Suddenly, I'm very happy to be here.
She's thrilled to be here. So, flattery gets you everywhere. But a career that so far has spanned over 40 years and, arguably could be in its strides right now with all the wonderful work that you're doing. But you have worked in film, television, all the screen content.
Like yourself.
Yeah, yes. In musicals, in plays, or I think almost every major state theatre company in this country. And, of course, you are a renowned artist with toast and Vegemite, which I love to bits. You're currently touring for, I think, the third time nationally.
Third time, yeah.
In RBG, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg play, to great acclaim. I'm so excited. Heathermitchell, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it's so lovely to be able to catch up because we've missed each other since our time on
I tried to get her on Fake, which was fabulous. We had so much fun.
We did have so much fun. And then I did catch you after seeing RBG at Stage Door. But
was I sick that night?
You were sick, yes.
Well, I remember thinking,
yeah, you were a little sick, so we didn't really get a lot of time to kind of chat and do, but you very generously did say hi to my friend, so I thank you for that. There's so much to cover. It's such an astonishing and extraordinary career. But as I touched on before as well, I'm really fascinated about what creates such a wonderful human being, and I looked at all the history that's there, and it's such an interesting mix, like born in Korea. Mm. Your dad's a forester, and did I read correctly that he was also a conscientious objector?
Yes, he was.
From World War II. Your mum was working for the UN at one stage, Jewish family. It's
done so much research.
Living in Jamaica, it's just it's like a mixed bag of lollies thrown in together. How does all of that affect your kind of worldview and bring you to this?
Oh, interesting question, actually. I think that's interesting because I think only the age I'm now can I even begin to answer a question like that. Yeah. Because I think when you're living life, you don't have much time to reflect, but also you don't know why life is what it is and all of those things. So it's interesting because well, maybe it's not interesting, but I think that
we'll edit it out if it's not.
But I now think that my parents, look, I loved my parents so much. I had wonderful parents. I didn't get to spend as long with my mother as I would have liked. She died when I was 17, but we were very close while she was alive. And my parents were adventurers. They loved adventure. They loved travel. They were both pacifists. They lived their lives as pacifists. In terms of my father was Quaker, and the Quakers, I don't know whether it's interesting or not, but the Quakers basically but they accept that life has tension, that there is tension in life, that's a new normal human state to live in. And not all the time, but tension exists. But so they approach conflict, any conflict, whether it's private conflict or national or world conflict, with the approach that creative thinking can help resolve things peacefully, basically, if you open your mind up to think creatively and listen to people, and that violence is never the answer, basically. So I was brought up in a family where very gentle, quiet family. Like, we didn't have family rows. It was a very quiet family.
A lot of creative thinking.
We actually my parents had a suggestion box. So at the end of the hall was a suggestion box. I'll get back to answer your question, but it does sort of inform it, because they had a suggestion box so that if you were upset about something, because it was all about choice, that you have the choice to say what you think and affect the other person maybe negatively, but if you reflect on it and think about it, maybe you can in time discuss it rather than just respond.
Yes.
So we had a suggestion box and would write them down, and then once a week my father would read them out at the head of the table, and we'd all have a good laugh, really.
Yes.
So that everything had dissipated and you could see
Time had gone.
way, and a different rationale would come in. But I think my parents, and I'm not really sure about this, but I would say my parents always wanted to travel. And so that was sort of from a young age, home was wherever we were as a family. So we were in Jamaica. I don't remember Korea that well, but I do have lots of slides and photographs. And I think the thing about memory that's so interesting is I look at those slides and photographs and I feel I can remember it.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it's a memory or whether it's I've just seen those photographs and the imprint of that makes me feel I can sense it and I was there. So because of that, I have never, whether that's just my personality, but I don't ever feel attached to places. I think from them I very much gained a feeling of wherever I live or wherever I am, the people that I'm with is more important than the place I'm in.
Let's talk about acting for a minute. Do you remember when you first sort of learnt that, acting was a career and maybe you might want to have a go at it?
Oh, I didn't know it was. I still don't know if it's a career. I really don't know.
Acting was something you could do, shall we say?
But look, acting itself, I mean, like a child, like most children, I loved playing, I loved dressing up, I loved getting in front of the family and, pretending to be different people. But it wasn't really, I guess, didn't have drama at school, didn't know it was a formulated thing, didn't know acting was something you could do. But I definitely, from the first time of even in the playground, putting on outside, everyone standing in a circle and two people going into the centre and saying some lines together. I loved that.
Improv.
I loved all that, So, and it wasn't until later that I went, oh, that's what acting is. That's kind of like taking some words and doing something with it and having other people listening to it and then hearing what they think and all of that sort of thing, which is sort of storytelling, I guess.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't until my mother, who belonged to a discussion group, had a box of, we lived in the country, and a box of books arrived each month for the discussion group, and they would distribute the books and all read them and come together and discuss them. And this was a box of mid-1900s, so 1950s, 1960s American plays. And I opened up a William Inge book. I think it was Dark at the Top of the Stairs. And I opened this hardcover book and something just shifted in me because of the way the play was written. And it was descriptive. I could see the room. I didn't have to read pages and pages.
Yes, it wasn't like a narrative set up. It has the scene, it sets that, does that.
Those days too, they wrote in detail. It was always in italics as well, the writing. It was different writing. So I loved the vision of the writing on the page as well. And then it would have act one, and then it would have scene one, and then it would have characters talking, people talking, not descriptions. And it was, and I would read the different lines, that the dialogue, and imagine who these people were. And then my mother and I would take turns reading with each other, and that was when I went, oh, this is a great way of reading, a great way of talking, a great way of communicating. And that was when my mother explained that they were plays. I didn't know what a play was until then.
Yes.
And that's a play, and that's, each story is different. So I went through all of them and thought, these are all different and these are all great. And so that was really when I went, that's kind of, I want to spend more time doing that.
Well, speaking of learning, if we could fast forward a little bit to your time at the National Institute of Dramatic Art. I think you graduated in 1980.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh, and you're not even looking at your
I'm not even looking at my notes. I'm so professional. so professional. And I think Hugo was the year below you?
He was the year below.
Year below you.
Behind.
Behind. We love that. Let's go with that. Inclusive, wonderful, warm talk is behind me. Yes. Yeah. How did you find that experience? It can be, I'm a graduate as well, as you know, and I don't think, in my opinion, it's not the only way to train. You can obviously get training a myriad of ways.
Absolutely.
It's a particular, unique sort of cauldron, and I'm always interested to hear from people how they found it, whether that intensity was wondrous, challenging.
It's a good question, isn't it? It's I could not believe I got it. I was so I remember the day I got in. I got in the same day as beautiful Nagidi, who recently passed away.
Yes.
And we auditioned on the same day together. We didn't know each other, but we met that day and we really bonded that day. And then we both got telegrams on the same day. And I remember us ringing each other on the landline and saying, I got a telegram, did you? We both got these telegrams. It was so exciting. I was at art school before that and I loved art school. I absolutely loved it, but knew that I was never going to be, I didn't have the dedication to become an artist, which you have to have incredible. And it was also, I wanted to work with groups of people. I thought as an artist, it's often more solo.
Yep.
And so I wanted to use language more. So I was so excited to get in. And look, it was a great experience for many reasons.
How old were you at this stage? When you...
I must have been 20.
20, yep.
Look, it was an amazing experience because where else do you get to spend except doing any full-time course? And it's a course where you're with the people every day and they're long days and it's intense.
Yeah.
But there was no one there. I never experienced anyone. There was never negativity. I didn't experience, I think different people have different approaches, but I didn't experience and I didn't witness particularly any teaching style, which was to break people down in order to find out who they are.
Yeah.
I felt it was, generally speaking, a very inclusive and nourishing place.
Yeah, great. You're renowned for having a wonderful emotional access in your work. And I wonder, are you conscious of how you keep that available to you as an actor in any way at all?
No, that's interesting. I don't even know if I'm aware of that, except that I always suppose with acting, and I don't know if you feel the same, but the big challenge with acting, or the exciting challenge, is finding the truth of a situation. And of course, there's many ways to perceive anything and many ways to look at anything. So I suppose it's trying to find for yourself as the actor where in each moment or within each scenario or whatever it is, where the truth lies. And if you can find the truth for yourself, then you connect with that, whether it's just usually it's your imagination. I'm not a method actor at all.
Yep.
And I don't go to my own personal experiences I go to personal experiences for memory.
Yeah.
To think what happened then and how did I react, but I don't call on my personal emotion.
Right. When yes.
I use the character that I'm playing as imagining they're in that situation. So I'm not at all.
So you kind of you would, if I could use this analogy, maybe essentially you're going to your own memories for some research and referencing.
Exactly.
And then you're taking those things, if I load a bit of that and a bit of this bit into here, but ultimately
and then I transfer
that.
It's transferred so that, some people say, even with RBG, they say, oh, you must be exhausted at the end of it. And how do you feel about, talking about this and that when you, in your own life, your mother died and so did Ruth? I go, well, it's got nothing to do with me. It's Ruth's life, and so it's not personal.
Yes.
I may have similar things in my life that have happened, and having cancer and different things, but
Which helps with the research.
But I don't.
Yeah.
It's research. Yeah. It's not. I never go there. I don't use acting ever as therapy or as opening up old wounds or anything.
Yeah, right.
Like
It's that you don't find it a cathartic experience in any way. That's really fascinating. No. I do a little bit, to be honest with you. So it's interesting to hear that there, but I don't sit there imagining kill my cat. You know what I mean? That thing of
but it is. I think that's
how many times can you kill your mother in your head before it becomes useless as a thing, and then you'll probably go and do it.
Isn't that what's great though? And that's the great thing about working with other people. Everyone works. I love that about you walk onto a set like when we're working together, and you haven't worked with the other people maybe only once before or maybe never, and it's really exciting to see wonder how everyone else is working and what their process is, because you go, I think it's different to mine, but how are they doing it? And everyone's different.
Yeah, and we all come together in the moment because obviously we've got the words saying this, but we come.
And everyone's done their research.
Yes.
And you all come together and you go, wow, that was great. We all sort of responded well together, even though we haven't had rehearsal even, or we haven't,
Well, I just was talking to Eddie Perfect the other day.
Yeah.
And he was just laughing at, his first experience as a main character when he was core cast in Offspring, main cast in that. And for him coming from a theatrical background, which of course you did as well, and just how absurd the lack of rehearsal seems to be.
It's insane, isn't it?
And compared to what you do in theatre,
But it's what that rehearsal is too, because I find I don't want to rehearse for film in terms of, say the lines in the space too many times, because
It
the
just
first take
becomes-
is usually the best.
Yeah.
But rehearsal, I think people have a different idea of what rehearsal is. But the benefits of discussion.
Yes.
So for me, the rehearsal is, I love it when designers show me this is where you're going to be. And this is, after you've had your costume fitting in, but they show you a picture of the room you'll be in, or the house or the car or the whatever. It helps so much. So you go, oh, that's what it's like. I had in my mind it was going to be completely different. So that helps enormously.
Yeah.
So that's part of rehearsal for me. But then it's the discussion and the...
it's kind of about the emotional play, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, what do we think's going on in this?
Yeah, and working it out together and with the director. But to just turn up on a set, which so often you do, and because it depends on how many words you've got and all that sort of thing. Because often
you're a day player, you come in and you literally just...
And you're just visiting and you feel so excited to be there. And
you don't see the other cast till you're in front of the camera.
No.
And it's just hi, how you going? Yeah, great. What are we doing? Oh, okay.
And then sometimes that actor is tired, or for whatever reason.
Yeah, need a break. Costume change.
Or costume change, so you're talking to the edge of the camera,
Yes.
which I don't mind either sometimes. So...
You did mention your cancer diagnosis in there, so I might as well just jump in because I want to talk about it at some point, so now's a good time as any. So that happened for you at 46?
Yeah, I was 45 or 46.
45, somewhere there. Yeah. And you and Martin married at that point? Yes. Yes.
We had two small children. Two and 4 years old.
Yeah, something like that. I've obviously watched interviews and we've talked about this as well, like on Australian Story and that sort of thing, and how challenging that was, well, for anybody, But I guess I'm always interested in understanding, you're on the other side of that now, and then there was 17 years later a second diagnosis. With hindsight, what kept you going and focused and fed throughout that period to be able to fight and go on?
I felt, look, because my mother died when I was 17, I think, and I was very close to her, I think I always thought I was going to get sick by the time I was mid-40s.
So that's what happens. It's there in the back of your head.
At the back of my mind. So when I found out I had cancer, when I got the diagnosis, part of me wasn't surprised. I went, and I thought, this is when I die. And I thought, here we go. And I looked, and I had, 2 and a 4-year-old and Martin, who's wonderful. And I thought, no, I can't do that. And I just remember that moment of going, no, can't do it. Can't do it. So I'm not saying I created my cancer because I believed it was going to happen. I'm not saying that. But all I guess I'm saying through that is that immediate acceptance. And I don't know whether it was because I thought it was inevitable or whether I learnt from my mother. My mother became a Taoist and very much, my father's Quaker and my mother became a Taoist.
Because there's not enough going on already.
But they were also very stoic people.
Yeah.
And I must say I got very interested in stoicism. And quite an elderly friend of mine said to me when I had the diagnosis, and she came over one day, and I was halfway through treatment, I was bald and very thin and everything. And she said to me, I had no idea you were so stoic. And I thought, that's a funny word. What does that actually mean? So I looked more into stoicism and realised that my parents had sort of gifted me a bit of stoicism, sort of secretly. And
tuck that away for later.
Yeah. So it really helped me enormously because I thought, what can I be in control of? The only thing I can be in control of with this is making decisions, is decision making. And there are certain things I'm not in control of. So it was organising in my mind very rationally what I was in control of. And I was in control of doing research, which I like doing. So I'd bring lots of people. I gathered lots of information, probably too much because I got too many opinions and points of view. But nevertheless, I put it all out there like okay, he said to do that. She said don't. They said that. So they were met with any diagnosis of anything, I think for most people, unless it's really dire, there are many options usually, or a couple options. And choosing the options can be the most difficult thing, and that's where I struggled. I struggled with making the decisions. I didn't struggle with having cancer.
Yep.
Or the thought of having cancer. I struggled with making the decisions and making the decisions for what was best for myself and making sure they were best for my children and the people I cared about.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest struggle really in the end, I enjoyed doing treatment. I enjoyed the people. I loved going to the hospital. I loved my oncologist. I love him so much. I enjoyed meeting all the people I met, and all the nurses were incredible. I did not have a bad time going through cancer. I found it actually very interesting. I struggled enormously when I found out that I'd been given the wrong radiation treatment. So I then had to spend months deciding whether to do more radiation. I decided to. That decision was very difficult because the side effects of doing it again were quite extreme.
Yes.
So it was the decisions that were my responsibility that I found the hardest.
They were the things you had control over, though, as well. So
I find it easier if I don't have control over them.
yeah, right.
The things I have control over, which is what Stoicism is sort of like, is understanding what you have control over and then deciding how does that align with who you are as a person,
Yep.
what you want out of life, how you're going to juggle that. There are a lot of questions when it comes to making a decision, I find.
Yeah.
So I find that much decision-making was the most challenging thing about having cancer. And then, of course, it affected us financially hugely because Martin wasn't working because he was looking after the kids. And it went on for 2 years, the treatment.
You said something in 1+1 with Melanie Tate that I was watching earlier today as well, because I love Melanie.
Yeah,
Dear
she's
woman. Hello,
gorgeous.
Melanie. Hi. And you were talking about that and saying how Martin didn't get a lot of work either because everyone assumed potentially he'll be having to look after you. So he's, and people just didn't want to be around.
Look, fortunately now, even since then, like that was 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
Even just in that time, cancer's talked about now so openly. Yes. But even, the time my mother died, no one talked about cancer. It was never mentioned. She just died. No one knew what happened. No, she didn't talk about it. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
I decided to tell people I had cancer. In retrospect, maybe I should have kept it a bit more quiet. I think because people were wonderful, like, outpouring of food and love and support. However, when someone is ill and it's just inevitable, I think. It's human nature. It's like when someone's died and we're all there for the people who are left behind. Everyone in that situation says eventually people drop away and they are left with their own grief or whatever in the end. And I think that eventually what happened more was that word got out that I was sick and people going, oh, that's terrible. And Martin looking after the kids. They just felt a bit of a cloud of that things weren't going well for us and better leave us alone. And out of goodwill, but I'm really careful now when people I know are unwell not to put that on them.
Yes. Yep.
I think it's very important that you've got to be guided by the person, of course, what they want, but that you make them feel that nothing has changed. They're dealing with an illness, but they are still the same person, and maybe they want to do all the same things.
Yeah.
They don't want to stay home and be looked after. They want to be out working, and I wanted to work, Martin wanted to work, and there was no work for 2 years.
It was interesting to hear you talk about that moment where you had that recognition. You went, it's what I expected, actually, now you mention it. You looked around and just went, no. Actually, no.
That's not going to happen.
And, the power of the mind is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And that moment was so clear to me. It wasn't just a thought. It wasn't just like, didn't come out of fear. It came out of certainty.
It's like that is not where we're going.
Not happening.
We're going this way, not there.
And I knew I would. I knew I'd be all right then. I don't care what they tell. I thought, no matter what I'm told, I'm going to be all right.
Yeah. However we get there.
Yeah.
But this is where I'm going. Which I just wonder whether, having spent so many years using your mind to create characters and believe in scenarios and situations, it was a well-exercised muscle to then just go, nah, bang.
Maybe, but I'm sure other people might have that and things might not have been worked out
maybe
so well.
not, yeah. As I said, I'm not, it's a bit like saying you didn't manifest it, and I'm sure...
No, but I think by making that decision, and it wasn't a decision, it was a certainty, it meant then that I would attract the right people as well. I would make sure I found the right people.
If I can come back to your body of work for a few minutes now here, if we may, I'm gonna reach down and grab this
Darling,
this
please
little
do.
tome of just the theatre resume is like 7 pages long, right? So I'll get to that in a second though. You performed in iconic Australian films like Malcolm, Bodyline, Proof, Muriel's Wedding, Great Gatsby, Palm Beach. Television is like everything that was ever made in this nation. I feel like you were in. All States, Shannon Pictures, Rake, Crownies, A Place to Call Home, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. Get that out. Janet King, Upright, Harrow, Wakefield, Love Me, Fake. It is the cream of the production that's happened here. But, if that's not enough as well, I came to this when I found this, which I'm sure is still missing things as well, but it's your theatrical resume, and reading it, and I was just stunned at the sorts of titles that are on here. It's like, Arthur Miller, Shakespeare, big, epic, classic things, Summer of the 17th Doll, Cloud Nine. It's astonishing, having played all of these characters, and, you've become, well, you are the fabric of our industry, and it's interesting to hear you talk about having, lost your home and at 40 is not working. And we touched on earlier, it's like, is it a career? How do you make a living in this country? And it's one of the most enviable lists, and you don't have a Ferrari. Is that correct?
Certainly don't have, right.
It's a sad state of affairs, that, isn't it?
Look,
from a financial,
is.
We don't need to be rich, but I just feel that.
Look, it is so hard. Theatre particularly, and then, but also in film and television. I mean, look, that's a wonderful list you've read out. However, a lot of them were very small roles, and it's not like I was the starring role in all these things. So, but so as an actor, we're all jobbing actors, most of us. I mean, I would even say that even people who we look at as hugely established often feel they don't know what's going to happen next. So I don't think there's any great, we look at other people and think, oh, their careers are just extraordinary, but they don't necessarily feel it that way sometimes. So you never know what people's personal circumstances are and what's giving them pleasure and not. But I would say, just as a general comment, I do feel, because I love live theatre, and it's given me many opportunities, and I've worked with wonderful people, but there's no way you can live on a theatre wage, particularly if you get one play every couple of years, or if you're lucky, 2 plays or something. And some people don't go years before they can get one. And the wage you get now does not cover your rent. Like, it is not enough to pay the rent of, particularly if you have children or something, it does not cover your rent. So that is not good. And I think audiences go to plays and they assume, I think people have such a strange view of what people, and including stage management, designers, everyone in this, assume they get paid an enormous amount of money because, theatre prices are reasonably expensive, and they see a full house, and there's a misconception that the artists get the money. But that's also because theatre companies really struggle. Theatre companies in Australia, they get some government funding, but not a huge amount. And they're really totally dependent, enormously dependent anyway, on philanthropy. And that philanthropy goes towards putting the shows on, running the businesses, keeping the rents for those businesses, and all those things. So we're a country that depends, certainly in the theatre arts, on either people doing it in co-ops for nothing, or even putting their own money into it, or fortunately getting paid. But and when I was younger, I would have happily done anything for no money. I would have done it for no money, and I just can't afford to now.
No,
I wish I could. I wish I could do some things for nothing. And especially at my age, you sort of think, you watch other people of your own age who are doing, community work and who've retired, but they've had corporate jobs and things, and so they can give back in that way. So I do try and do it in other ways, I suppose, because I do feel as you get older in any industry, it's really important to offer, especially to younger people, your time and any experience they might want from that time. So I do try and do that, but financially I can't help.
No, I know it's difficult, isn't it?
It is.
It's funny. I never cracked the MTC, STC kind of, the State Theatre Company sort of world. I did some plays and I came out of drama school and I did a lot of musicals. You know, that was kind of my stage experience there. And then it was just film and television. I did hundreds of screen tests. And then it got to a point that someone said to me, oh, you've got a monologue to learn. I'd be freaked out. No, I've got to learn a monologue for a theatre audition. Oh, no, I'm not ready. And then vice versa. Other people, they say, drawn in that direction.
Exactly.
And then got screen tests.
It's
Absolutely. Like, what do you mean there's only 4 lines? What am I doing with this? You know? Were you ever tempted to go to America? Like, you know...
Look, I'm actually I have an American citizen passport. And so I did go to America when I was younger, and I left NIDA and Bill sent me over, and ICM were going to sign me up, and I met with them. These 4 beautiful women sat opposite me on a couch and said, oh, my God, you're so gorgeous. What do we do with her? What do we do? And they said, because back then you didn't put on an American accent. You just spoke with your Australian accent, and I just looked like, you know, this country kid.
Yep.
And they said, well, any Irish roles come along, maybe she could do that. And I said, oh, just Irish roles. And I said, how often do they come along? She said, well, not often, but, you know, one might come along. And I said, oh. And then I was offered 2 plays back in Sydney. And I went, oh, I'm going back to Sydney to work. And I'm glad I did. And I also, I mean, certainly fame has never been an interest for me.
Yeah.
I've never, I mean, some people...
Not a driver.
It's never been a driver.
No.
And I knew back then anyway, it was just about, I wanted to work with lots of different directors. I wanted to see what it was like working with different people. And so I was so fortunate. So I feel like I was doing just what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah, so don't need to go in.
So, and I never went back, and I certainly don't want to go back right now.
Well, do you have any favourite roles that you've done across?
Well, look, I'm loving doing RPG. I never tire up. I think we've done 230 shows so far, and not consecutively, but I never tire of that. I find her fascinating and wonderful, and I love doing it. I particularly loved, in recent years, I loved, I'm just talking about theatre for a moment, loved working on, you mentioned Carol Churchill's play.
Cloud Nine.
Cloud Nine. Wonderful cast. Kip Williams was wonderful. Just a beautiful experience. Years ago, loved doing the Doll trilogy, which was Ray Lawler's The Doll. Loved doing Harp in the South, because they were all-day experiences where the audience would come in the morning and watch one show, the second show, and the third show.
Yeah, right.
So they're great event experiences. And in film and television, I mean, I love doing Love Me. Really, that was such a harmonious and wonderful job with people who really cared. Loved working with you. Loved doing Fake. I mean, that was
fun. I felt like there was no pressure on us.
There was no pressure. And that can also be such a great feeling when, I mean, like there was Asha Ketty in every single shot.
Yes.
Having to, you know, really, and she was producing as well, and she was extraordinary. And we were kind of having a bit of fun.
I know.
But, you know, so I love jobs like that too. We've got nice characters to play. Can just have a lovely time and explore and have fun. It was great. So for different reasons, I've loved different things. Yeah.
Looking at the timeline, if we look at your timeline, the last 5 years feel like there has been, and my words, not yours, but some overdue recognition for you. You know, sort of being nominated. Well, first of all, the becoming a member of the Order of Australia in 20.
Yes, that was weird.
2020 for your services to the performing arts.
That's strange.
You know, I'll get through the list further and then we'll go back to the 2022 actor nomination for Best Supporting Actress in Love Me, and also the Silver Logie for Most Outstanding.
You know, I'd never been to the Logies before.
Oh, really? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Fun. I had a good time.
It is. It's a riotous evening. 2023 Sydney Theatre Award for RPG. And then 2024, you win the actor for Love Me. I think must have been the subsequent season after the original.
I did win the actor.
Didn't you? 2024, Best Supporting Actress.
Oh, I did. I did. Oh, my God, I did. Yes.
You were nominated in 22,
right,
but then you won. It's just through the kitchen door, down there.
I must look it out.
Oh, right. Yes, I must get that out. You know.
How embarrassing. Thank you, actor.
Thank you. Have you got a speech you'd like to give?
No, I wasn't there. That's why I don't come.
Oh, right, okay. Just kind of came in the matter.
I couldn't. I thought,
They didn't do a live cross. to you in Ruth's doily little number? No? Excellent, wonderful. I think culturally, we're traditionally not very good at accepting praise.
No, I'm not.
But how has it felt the last 5 years for you getting some recognition for your work?
Look, I think recognition is always wonderful. Like everyone likes to be acknowledged or recognised, or, whether it's just a thank you or anything.
Yes.
Like, it's nice for people. It's nice for your ego. It's just nice to be connected to people being nice. That's all nice. But I think, and of course it's lovely. I don't get carried away with it, though. I think...
Well, clearly, because you've even got it.
I don't... what do I think about it? I don't know. I think that the best thing about it is that I've had a few more beautiful opportunities.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about it. I feel that, like anyone, you just want your name to be associated with some good work.
Yep.
And you want your name and that good work to maybe help you connect with another piece of good work or good people, you know. And I do feel in the last 5 years, those things have sort of come together, which is beautiful, because I think before that, and in most people's, as you're going through, you get one bit or another bit or another. You might get a nice review for something, but then nothing happens for months and years, So it has been lovely that there's been both the feeling of doing good work, or work that feels right and is satisfying, and that people seem to respond to, and that's a lovely feeling. And that's as lovely as getting an award, actually, because that is kind of its own reward. And then getting the external recognition just adds more to that. Is really lovely. So, so that's lovely. And I must go home and read what you've got there.
Where are these awards? Where are they exactly? What's going on with them? Is the Logie a bit strange, like having one of those?
No, I love the Logie because it's kind of old-fashioned. It's kind of gorgeous.
It looks kind of like...
I love it.
Like an Alessi piece or something.
I've actually got a Gumby. Do you know Gumby?
Yeah.
A green Gumby. And
to have them next to each other?
And I do have my Gumby. I actually do have my Logie on the sideboard there with the Gumby next to it, because they look like they belong together.
They do. They do, very much so, very much so.
So, no, I like that. I love them. I'm glad they haven't updated it.
Spirituality. We've touched on a few things here today, but you are somebody who, from the outside, who really embodies a strength and a warmth and a clarity, and you have this skill of making people, I think, just feel seen and heard. Like when I'm with you, I feel like I'm with you. You're 100% present. And everyone I've spoken to similarly recognises that as well. And I'm just wondering, how have you managed to maintain that energy and optimism, as well as having a great understanding of reality, because we can all just be like toxic positivity, that kind of thing. It's too much, but you're very grounded, you're very connected, but you just, I leave a meeting with you and I feel better.
Well,
I just wonder
how... Beautiful thing to say. Well, that's that's better than any award. Thank you for saying that. That's so lovely. No one could ask for more.
And
look, that's very lovely things you've just said. I think I have a very fortunate personality innately. I think I was born, seriously, I think everyone is born with some very innate things in them. And I have a personality that is buoyant. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. I haven't had to work hard at being positive. I feel that it's just innate. And so when... of course I've been down, and of course I've shed tears, and of course I get very concerned about my kids and about lots of things, and my mind's very busy, and, like anyone else. But I think I have literally just been fortunate. Yeah. Seriously. And I don't follow any particular approach to life but I do feel innately that life is not against me. And I think possibly some people, and I think it's encouraged in us, certainly through social media, And certainly through looking at our phones a lot, and certainly through reading and watching the news. I don't watch the news. I think we are being trained even before we get out of the house in the morning to think the world's against us. And I think that if you do feel that everything's bad and nothing's going to be fixable and nothing's going to work, I'd suggest anyone to really relook at their diet of what they're doing, putting into their minds, because it is so easy to think the world is actually combative and that it's against you and nothing's going to go well. And then things are not going well and you feel really bad about the morning, and then suddenly you might look in your phone and, oh, I've been paid, and suddenly you feel good again. And then you're relying totally on those little incidental things that happen to make you feel good.
Until they fade.
Until they fade again, and then the next one. Yeah. And that's kind of not a good cycle to get into. Yeah. So you're really spending most of your time looking at the world thinking it's not going to work out on the big picture, but also on the small picture, rather than thinking the world is not against me. The world is full of great things, wonderful people. Nature will always sustain. And so I think if ever I am really at a loss or get really down, I don't practice anything, but I do that classic cliche now, because people talk about too much. Look at what you're grateful for. Yeah. Like you just go straight to, oh, I'm so grateful I'm sitting right here. Yeah. And I'm okay. And that's the Stoic thing as well. Yeah. That look at the reality of the moment. The moment is all that really matters right now. And if you're safe, it's your choice whether to find a way, whether it's through going and talking to someone or meditating or going for a walk or not having that next drink or whatever it is. You make that choice to go, I'm just going to let this moment sit till the next moment, and that next moment choose what that's going to be. That's all. Yeah.
It's, I guess it's a conflation of, happiness is a choice. People say that, and I think there's a sense of truth in that, like you say, you can either walk out that door and think the world's against you, or you can choose not to do that. Yeah. And
you can train yourself too not to do that.
I find it fascinating. I was reading a book, I've had it for ages, but on cognitive thinking. Yeah. Talking about that. And for me, what I recognise, once I recognise a pattern in someone, when I was reading these books, things about like predicting catastrophe and things like that you realise these are thought patterns that happen. But until someone, in that book, for me, outlined it, I didn't recognise it. So I was just in the midst of this storm of stuff going on. And someone said, this is what this looks like. And I went, that's me. I do that. And then I go, oh. And so when I understand what the different ones are to a degree, and that's just from reading that book, I just went, oh my God, I'm doing that thing again. I went, stop it, rewind.
Isn't that wonderful? Because that's something that you become conscious of something. And I mean, I think that's the thing that the older I get, the more I want to be more conscious of those things. Yeah. And I want to go, okay, oh, that's my pattern. And I don't mean looking at every single pattern, but going, oh, that's a pattern that's not really working for me.
Yeah, what serves me? What brings me to a place of where I want to be?
What can I do now? Because in the end, none of us want to be in conflict with ourselves. No. I don't think. No. And let alone conflict with other people, because that makes us feel bad about ourselves. Yeah. So it's best to, for me anyway, I'm only speaking for myself, just recently I responded to something which I regret responding to the way I did. And then it took me the whole Sunday to stew over it. And I thought, I've just spent my day off stewing over something that and I thought, why do I have the regret? Yeah. And I thought, because I didn't give myself that time to...
You put it in the suggestion box.
No, I didn't put it in the suggestion box. Saturday. But I assumed that person needed to know. Yes. They didn't need to know.
No. Yeah.
And then, it's sort of... So I think it's...
Isn't that funny? We do that sometimes and we go, this is really for me, but I'm really saying it's about... I've got to tell them.
Exactly. And I have this thing when people say, oh, just be yourself and be honest. And I go, I don't find that great advice. Everyone just being honest. Because everyone's truth is different. They're coming from a different place. And if everyone just walked around being honest all the time, I don't want to be hanging around with them. I don't think
Can that happen over there, please?
Yeah. I think, when you really trust someone, then you can find a different way of being honest. But I don't think we should all just walk around being honest with each other. because that's assuming that you're right.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'm not. But I think that's...
I do. From here, you're it feels like you're having a real good time career-wise right now, work-wise. What do you hope is next? What are your dreams and aspirations for the future?
Look, I really want to make some money.
Yes. Excellent.
To be honest.
Yes. I'd love to make some money.
I'd like to be able to balance it. I'd love to be able to... Well, I'm doing RBG at the moment. I've got nothing coming up afterwards. And I actually just rang my agent and I said, would you please, anything that might come across your desk that, I don't have to tell anyone else about, but that has some money attached, I'd be really interested. So I think at this where I am right now in my life, I've
got a cleaning job. It's fine.
Need a little bit more money to not to travel, not to do it, literally to live. Yeah. And live. We live comfortably, of course, because we're in a white Australian in these suburbs here. Yeah. But I would love not the certainty of it coming all the time, but just a little pool of it, just to get through. And then, but no, I would love to. Oh, I'd love a meaty role. Yeah, I'd like something that I have to really. I guess I'm more and more not impatient, but I don't want to waste any time now. Yeah, I'm 67. I've had cancer twice. My kids are now at an age where they're much more independent.
Except they don't drive.
They don't drive. Right. So they're not...
Get a licence.
And, so I go, I'm so lucky to still be here and I'm lucky to be working, as you say, and all those things. So I would love something really, as we all would.
Yes,
would we? Aren't I saying, well, do you want to? I don't know. Maybe you don't. But I would just love, I'd love a good challenge. Yeah. And I have found RBG was a good challenge. And then when we were rehearsing that, 4-week rehearsal, I remember that last week of rehearsal, just going, the brilliant Sharon Millerchip was assistant, just feeding me the lines because I was going, what's coming next? Where's my mark? Where's my this, that? And that was a great challenge. Yeah. And the great thing is when you've got a big challenge and you work hard at it, it's doing the work. If you know you've done everything you can just let go. And if anything, and whatever you come out with will be what it is. But if you haven't worked hard and done all the work, it's scary. Yeah. But I don't feel like big challenges scary because I know I like to work. Yeah. So I think, if you're prepared to work and make sure...
And you are? For the right price.
For the right price. No, I do it for nothing. So that job has to be probably something else.
So you need a massive commercial.
I need the lottery.
You need the lottery.
And then I need something like that. And then, but no, the challenge part of it I do doesn't have to bring the money.
Let's get to my bumper sticker moment if we can here. I always kind of like the quick fire questions here for the end, which is like, do you have a mantra you live by?
Oh, I'm far out. A mantra I live by. Why not?
Why not? Excellent. From influences in your life, who do you think taught you the most?
My parents.
Parents. And what do you think that was?
They taught me...
Many things, I'm sure.
I think they taught me to be at peace with myself.
Amazing. Milestones. If you had to pick one that has had the most profound effect on you in your life, work, career, otherwise, what
milestones? I would say the cancer treatment would be one, and the other one is the continued joy and challenge of being a parent, the constancy of it. Yeah. And whether that's a milestone or not, it's the incredible thing of having people in your life who you hope you'll always be deeply connected to. Yeah. And yet you worry, you never stop hoping and loving and worrying about them. That's not really a milestone, but that's that is part of that's a big part of my existence. Yes.
Absolutely. Mistakes.
Oh, so many. The list goes on. Mistakes. Oh, mistakes. Goodness me. Of course. Oh, it goes back to choices. I think I've made. No, they're not mistakes. There were some that I was disappointed, but they weren't mistakes because I think that's a tricky one.
It is, and it's
tricky because I don't like to think of them as mistakes.
No, it's I've stuck with it because I've used it constantly throughout this series. But interestingly, almost everybody has the same reaction to it, which is like,
well, maybe we don't want to think of them as mistakes.
well, maybe not, but it's the general feeling is that, you know, is it a mistake? Because I guess inherent in that word was it wrong? You know, and it's like there's no wrong choices here. There are things you can learn from. There are failures, you know.
I guess we don't want to think of them as mistakes. We've probably made mistakes, I'm sure, but I don't want to think of them as that.
Yeah, but they're learning
it's just
things.
Denial
Yeah.
again. I don't know. But,
there are none.
mistakes. Look, I've made mistakes. No. Good God.
But there's no
little things.
No deep regret that I wish or wish I'd done that instead of that.
I don't have regret.
No, useless emotion, really.
Yeah, I think I talked myself out of that pretty quickly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, struggles. What's the biggest thing you feel you've had to overcome to be where you are today? I mean, we've probably...
Look, I think I struggled when my kids were little and my husband was away all the time. I think I struggled being a parent with 2 small children. I did struggle. I struggled with that because one was very sick and had meningitis. The other one was wild.
And was Marty off filming?
Martin was away a lot. Yep. He was over in Canada. I did struggle. That was a real struggle, actually, having sick children.
Yeah.
Having a sick child was a huge struggle. I found that it was emotionally a great challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Heather, that is the end of our time here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming and talking. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
This is not a paid interview, everybody.
And thank you for saying so many nice things about me.
Look, you know, it wasn't hard to find them, I have to say. And I do mean that. You know, when I was prepping for this, I just there's a line in there I said, you're like an angel come to earth. Because you're just such a wonderful, positive energy.
No,
and I love that.
so embarrassed.
I know. I'm going to get you some little Diamante wings and just go, there you go. Next time you're opening up.
Well, this has been the greatest gift to
lovely.
be with you. And thank you for taking the time and making this happen.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Well, that's it for this episode of McLaren Versus. I am Spencer McLaren. Thank you for spending some time with us. If you enjoyed this chat, don't forget to follow and leave us a review.